What I'm about to reveal will fundamentally change how you think about the apps, software, and services you use every day. The subscription economy isn't about providing better value or convenience to customers. It's a coordinated scheme by corporations to extract maximum money from consumers while eliminating ownership, reducing product quality, and creating dependencies that make it nearly impossible to escape their recurring payment traps. This isn't about a few companies offering subscription options alongside traditional purchases. This is about the systematic transformation of the entire economy from ownership-based commerce to rental-based extraction, where you pay more money for less value while losing control over the products and services you depend on for work and daily life. By the time I'm finished explaining how this system actually works, you'll understand why companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and Apple have abandoned selling products in favor of subscription models that generate unlimited profits while providing inferior service and trapping customers in cycles of permanent payments. Let me start with David Chen, a freelance graphic designer from Seattle who discovered the true cost of the subscription economy when he decided to calculate his monthly recurring payments in 2023. David had always considered himself financially responsible, carefully tracking his major expenses like rent, car payments, and groceries while assuming his various app and software subscriptions were minor conveniences. But when David added up all his subscription payments, he was shocked to discover he was spending $347 per month on recurring charges. Adobe Creative Cloud costs $52.99 monthly. Microsoft Office was $6.99. Spotify Premium was $9.99. Netflix was $15.49. Amazon Prime was $14.98. His iPhone storage plan was $2.99, and dozens of other apps and services he'd forgotten about added up to hundreds of dollars in monthly charges. Over a full year, David was paying $4,164 in subscription fees, more than he spent on groceries, car insurance, or most other major expense categories. But what made this even more disturbing was realizing that he was paying infinitely more than he would have under the old ownership model. The Adobe Creative Suite that David uses for work used to cost $1,299 as a one-time purchase that he could use indefinitely. Under the subscription model, he pays $635 annually and loses access to the software if he ever stops paying. Over 10 years, David will pay $6,350 for software that he could have previously owned permanently for $1,299. But David can't go back to the older version because Adobe discontinued perpetual licenses and forces all customers into subscription plans. The company deliberately eliminated the ownership option to ensure that customers like David become permanent revenue sources rather than one-time purchasers. David's story illustrates the core deception of the subscription economy. Companies market subscriptions as affordable and convenient while actually extracting far more money than traditional purchases while providing less value and no ownership rights. That the subscription economy has grown from essentially nothing in 2010 to over $650 billion annually by 2023. Representing one of the fastest wealth transfers from consumers to corporations in business history. But this growth isn't driven by consumer demand for subscription services, it's driven by corporate strategies to maximize revenue extraction from customers who have fewer alternatives and less control. Adobe provides the perfect case study of how companies deliberately destroy ownership to force subscription adoption. For decades, Adobe sold Creative Suite as a perpetual license that customers could purchase once and use indefinitely. This model served customers well and generated steady profits for Adobe. But in 2013, Adobe abandoned perpetual licensing entirely and forced all customers to adopt Creative Cloud subscriptions. The company didn't provide better software or additional value. They simply eliminated the ownership option and required customers to pay monthly fees for access to tools they previously owned. Adobe's marketing claimed the subscription model would provide customers with continuous updates in cloud storage, but the reality has been different. Updates are often minimal. Cloud storage is limited, and customers frequently report that newer versions are less stable than the perpetual licenses they replaced. The transition wasn't about improving the product, it was about transforming Adobe from a company that sold software into a company that rents software access while generating predictable recurring revenue that grows automatically over time. Microsoft followed a similar strategy with Office, transitioning from one purchases to Office 365 subscriptions that cost more over time while providing fewer ownership rights. The company maintains a stripped-down version of Office as a one-time purchase, but actively steers customers toward subscriptions through marketing, pricing, and feature limitations. Apple has been even more aggressive in implementing subscription extraction across its entire ecosystem. iCloud storage subscriptions are virtually mandatory for iPhone users who take photos regularly. Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple Arcade, and numerous other services create multiple recurring charges that can easily exceed $50 monthly for customers who use Apple's full ecosystem. But Apple's most insidious subscription strategy involves planned obsolescence combined with software updates that deliberately slow down older devices, forcing customers to upgrade hardware more frequently while paying for subscription services that don't work properly on older devices. This creates a compound subscription model, where customers pay monthly for services while being forced to replace expensive hardware every few years to maintain access to those services. The total cost of Apple ecosystem participation can easily exceed $200 monthly when hardware replacement costs are amortized over typical device lifespans. Netflix pioneered many of the psychological manipulation techniques that make subscription services addictive and difficult to cancel. The platform doesn't just provide content, it uses sophisticated algorithms to create viewing habits that make cancellation feel like losing access to entertainment that has become essential to users' daily routines. The binge-watching model isn't about giving customers what they want, it's about creating psychological dependency that makes subscription cancellation emotionally difficult even when the financial cost becomes problematic. Netflix also implements price increases gradually and strategically, timing them to coincide with popular content releases when customers are least likely to cancel. The company has raised prices consistently since launching, with many users now paying more than $20 monthly for service that originally cost $7.99, but the Netflix model has been copied across the entertainment industry, with Disney+, HBO Max, Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV+, and dozens of other services fragmenting content across multiple platforms that require separate subscriptions to access shows and movies that were previously available through single sources. This fragmentation isn't accidental, it's a deliberate strategy to force customers to maintain multiple subscriptions rather than being able to choose single services that meet their needs. The result is that customers often pay more for streaming services than they paid for cable television while having less reliable access to content. The software industry has implemented similar fragmentation strategies, with companies breaking integrated software packages into separate subscription services that must be purchased individually. Adobe, Autodesk, and other companies now charge separately for tools that were previously included in single software packages. This allows companies to extract more money from customers who need multiple tools while making it difficult to calculate the true cost of software access. A graphic designer who previously bought Creative Suite for $1,299 might now pay $150 plus monthly for individual subscriptions to Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and other tools that were previously bundled together. But the subscription economy that extends far beyond just software and entertainment to include physical products and services that were never subscription-based historically. Car manufacturers now charge monthly fees for features like heated seats, advanced cruise control, and infotainment systems that are built into vehicles but disabled until customers pay ongoing subscription fees. BMW, Mercedes, and other luxury manufacturers have implemented subscription fees for features that customers previously owned permanently after purchasing vehicles. This transforms car ownership into car rental, where customers pay for vehicles but don't have full access to their capabilities without ongoing subscription payments. The home security industry has also shifted to subscription models that provide less value than traditional systems while creating ongoing payment obligations. Companies like ADT and Ring charge monthly fees for monitoring services while also requiring customers to purchase expensive hardware that becomes worthless if subscription payments are discontinued. Even basic household products are being transformed into subscription services through smart devices that require ongoing payments to function properly. Smart thermostats, door locks, and appliances often require subscription services for full functionality, turning one-time purchases into recurring payment obligations. The fitness industry has embraced subscription models that extract far more NEY than traditional gym memberships while providing less reliable service. Peloton, Mirror, and other companies sell expensive equipment that requires ongoing subscription payments to access content, creating compound costs that can exceed $100 monthly. But what makes the subscription economy particularly insidious is how companies design their services to be difficult to cancel and easy to forget about. Subscription services use psychological techniques and technical barriers, specifically designed to maintain recurring payments from customers who no longer want or use the services. The cancellation process is deliberately complex, often requiring customers to navigate through multiple screens designed to discourage cancellation. Companies offer discounts, free trial extensions, and other incentives to prevent cancellation while making the actual cancellation process as difficult as possible. Many subscription services also implement dark patterns that make signing up easy but cancellation difficult. Free trials automatically convert to paid subscriptions, with billing that begins without clear notification to customers who may have forgotten about trial periods. The psychological manipulation extends to pricing strategies that make subscription costs appear smaller than they actually are. Companies emphasize monthly costs while hiding annual totals, use confusing pricing tiers that make cost comparison difficult, and bundle services together to obscure the true cost of individual components. Credit card integration makes subscription payments invisible to many customers who don't carefully review monthly statements. Companies specifically target customers who use autopay and are less likely to notice recurring charges. Knowing that many subscribers will continue paying for services they don't use or remember signing up for, the data collected through subscription services also becomes valuable corporate assets that are monetized beyond just subscription fees. Companies use subscription customer data for advertising, market research, and product development while also selling customer information to third parties. This creates additional revenue streams that aren't transparent to customers who think they're only paying for access to products or services. The subscription model enables comprehensive data collection that wouldn't be possible with one-time purchases, giving companies ongoing access to customer behavior and preferences. But the subscription economy also creates systemic economic problems that extend beyond individual consumer costs. The model reduces consumer purchasing power by converting discrete purchases into ongoing payment obligations that compound over time. When customers pay $300 monthly for various subscriptions, that money isn't available for other purchases, reducing demand for goods and services in other sectors of the economy. The subscription economy essentially creates a tax on economic activity that flows to a few large technology and media companies. The model also increases financial instability for consumers who become dependent on services they don't own and can't control. Economic downturns, job losses, or other financial difficulties force customers to cancel subscriptions, but they lose access to tools and services they may need for work or daily life. This creates a form of economic vulnerability that didn't exist under ownership models, where customers who purchase products could continue using them regardless of their ability to make ongoing payments. The international implications of subscription economy dominance are also concerning, as American technology companies use subscription models to extract ongoing payments from global customers while maintaining control over essential digital infrastructure. Countries that become dependent on American subscription services for business, software, entertainment, and digital tools face potential economic leverage that can be used for political purposes. Subscription services can be discontinued or restricted based on geopolitical considerations, affecting entire economies that have become dependent on foreign-controlled digital infrastructure. But the long-term trajectory of the subscription economy is even more alarming, as companies work to transform all commerce into subscription-based models. The eventual goal is a world where consumers own nothing and rent access to everything, creating permanent revenue streams for corporations while eliminating consumer autonomy and ownership rights. Automotive manufacturers are developing subscription models for vehicle access rather than ownership. Housing companies are pursuing rental models that prevent homeownership. Even basic consumer goods are being redesigned as subscription services that require ongoing payments for continued use. This represents a fundamental transformation of economic relationships from ownership-based commerce to feudalistic models, where corporations control essential goods and services while consumers pay tribute for access without gaining ownership rights. However, there are strategies that consumers can use to resist subscription economy exploitation and maintain ownership rights, though success requires conscious effort and willingness to accept some inconvenience in exchange for financial autonomy. The most effective strategy is conducting regular subscription audits to identify and cancel services that aren't providing adequate value. Many consumers discover they're paying for subscriptions they forgot about or services they rarely use, providing immediate savings opportunities. Choosing one-time purchases over subscriptions when available can provide better long-term value, even when subscription options appear cheaper initially. Software like Adobe alternatives, Microsoft Office alternatives, and other tools often provide adequate functionality at lower total costs. Using free and open-source alternatives can eliminate subscription dependencies entirely for many use cases. Software like GIMP, LibreOffice, and other open-source tools provide professional-grade functionality without recurring costs or corporate control. Negotiating with subscription service providers can also reduce costs, as many companies offer discounts or promotional rates to prevent cancellation. Annual payment plans often provide significant savings compared to monthly billing, though they require larger upfront payments. But individual resistance efforts are ultimately limited by the systematic nature of subscription economy expansion. Comprehensive protection requires policy changes that preserve consumer ownership rights and prevent companies from eliminating ownership options in favor of subscription-only models. This means supporting legislation that requires companies to offer ownership alternatives alongside subscription services, regulates subscription cancellation practices, and prevents the use of planned obsolescence to force subscription adoption. It also means supporting businesses and business models that prioritize customer ownership and value over subscription extraction, even when those alternatives require higher upfront costs or less convenience. Most importantly, means recognizing that the subscription economy represents a fundamental threat to consumer autonomy and economic freedom that requires collective resistance rather than just individual optimization. The subscription economy isn't providing better value or convenience. It's extracting more money for less value while eliminating ownership rights and creating dependencies that benefit corporations at consumers' expense. Your monthly subscription payments aren't small conveniences, they're wealth extraction mechanisms that compound over time to transfer far more money to corporations than you would have paid under ownership models while providing inferior service and no ownership rights. The companies pushing subscription models aren't innovating to serve customers better. They're implementing extraction strategies designed to maximize revenue while eliminating alternatives that would serve consumer interests. But understanding how the system works is the first step toward escaping it and demanding alternatives that prioritize consumer value over corporate extraction. The subscription economy is profitable for corporations precisely because it's expensive and limiting for consumers. You have the power to choose ownership over rental, value over convenience, and financial autonomy over corporate dependency. But those choices require understanding what's actually at stake and acting on that. Knowledge before the subscription economy eliminates ownership options entirely. The question is whether you'll continue feeding subscription systems designed to extract maximum money while providing minimum value, or whether you'll choose alternatives that serve your interests rather than corporate shareholders who profit from your permanent dependency. Every company became a subscription scam because subscription models generate more profit with less value than serving customers well. But you don't have to participate in systems designed to exploit your desire for useful products and services. The choice is still yours, but only if you make it before subscription models become so dominant that alternatives become impossible to find or afford.